If someone had told me the CEO would choose a caretaker over her world, I wouldn't have stayed. Just for tonight, she said, her voice crisp as cut glass. Be my girlfriend. Mara stared at her. The mop in her hand dripped onto the marble floor. Ignored. She wasn't sure if she'd heard it right. Maybe the late shift and the scent of bleach had messed with her head. But the woman in front of her wasn't joking. Isolde Valera did not joke. Not with employees. Certainly not with the cleaning crew. The CEO stood like a statue behind her desk-tailored navy suit. Raven hair twisted into a severe bun. Not a detail out of place. Her face revealed nothing, though something in her eyes burned too brightly to be merely business. Mara had cleaned this office every night for 3 months. She'd wiped Isolde's untouched whiskey tumblers, refolded designer coats tossed carelessly across the chair, and found the evidence of silent breakdowns in tissues buried deep in the bin. Until tonight, they'd exchanged no more than 4 words. Excuse me, Mara said at last, voice flat, carefully measured. Isolde's hands rested on the desk's edge. Her nails, deep wine red, were flawless. I said I need you to be my girlfriend for tonight. Pretend. There's a charity gala. It matters. No questions. Mara almost laughed. Right? And this is the part where I say yes, and we fall in love by dessert. Isolde's expression didn't shift. No. This is the part where you receive 5,000 rays in cash tomorrow morning, and no one has to know. Silence stretched. The city lights behind Isolde carved her into sharp relief, cool, unreachable. A breath of her perfume drifted over. Floral, expensive, like a private garden with locked gates. Why me? Mara folded her arms. Hire an actress. Bribe an influencer. Someone who doesn't show up in worn sneakers and a janitor's badge. Isolde tilted her head. Because they'd be obvious. And because I've been watching you. You don't look at me the way everyone else does. That did something strange to Mara's chest. Made her heartbeat shift like it had forgotten the rhythm. She hated that Isolde Valera noticed her. It meant she couldn't pretend to be invisible anymore. This is insane, Mara muttered. But you're considering it. Mara scowled. She hated how well Isolde could read her. I haven't said yes. And yet, Isolde said, stepping around the desk. You're still standing here. The sound of her heels echoed like a countdown as she approached. Mara resisted the instinct to step back. Isolde was close enough now that her presence was suffocating. Not physically, but in that way powerful people had of filling all the space in a room. Why the gala? Mara asked more to stall than out of real curiosity. Isolde's jaw tightened. My ex-fiancé will be there. She's now engaged to a man. The board will be watching. I need to appear undamaged. Mara blinked. So, I'm a prop. A very convincing one, Isolde said. 1,000 thoughts collided in Mara's mind. Pride, dignity, the absurdity of it all. But above that, the ache of curiosity, of what it would feel like to walk beside a woman like that. To see her stripped of the armor she wore in public. To taste the danger. Fine, Mara said at last. But I'm not calling you baby. And I swear to God, if you try to kiss me, I won't. Isolde interrupted, but her voice had changed. Lower, rougher. Unless you want me to. Mara's stomach flipped. The next 3 hours moved like a dream. Isolde's personal stylist met her in a hidden floor of the building. Eyes widening when she saw Mara. No one said the word project, but it was there, thick in the air. They scrubbed her clean of janitor grease, slipped her into satin and stiletto heels, pinned her hair back. The woman in the mirror wasn't her, and yet somehow she looked more real than ever. At 8 p.m. sharp, Isolde entered the dressing suite. She stared at Mara like she wasn't sure whether to approve or be afraid. Don't look at anyone too long. Let me lead. And if anyone asks how we met, I'll lie like a pro, Mara said. Their car ride was silent, tense. The city blurred past like 1,000 unopened doors. Mara didn't ask questions. Isolde didn't offer answers. But when their hands brushed briefly in the back seat, Neither of them pulled away. The gala was a glass palace. All crystal chandeliers and designer gowns with smiles so fake they sparkled. Isolde walked like she owned the place. Mara followed her lead, chin up, eyes sharp. The ex-fiancé found them near the champagne fountain. She was tall, blonde, model thin, and clinging to a generic finance bro in a tux. Her eyes locked onto Isolde first, then dropped to Mara. "Well," the ex said, "you certainly traded down." Mara smiled, slow and dangerous. "Funny. She said the same thing about you." Isolde's fingers found Mara's waist for show, Mara told herself. Just for tonight. But the grip was too steady, too real. The ex flushed. The man beside her said something awkward and ushered her away. "Thanks," Isolde said quietly. "Don't mention it," Mara replied. "Ever." But as the night wore on, as they danced once, as Isolde laughed for real at something, Mara muttered as a strand of her hair fell loose and she didn't fix it. The rules blurred. And when they got back to the car and Mara's hand lingered just a second too long on Isolde's wrist, neither of them pretended it hadn't happened. "Just for tonight," she'd said. But nothing about this felt temporary anymore. Mara didn't sleep that night. She tried. God, she tried. But every time she closed her eyes, her mind replayed the way as Isolde's fingers had lingered on her waist. How their gazes had locked for a second too long. How that entire surreal evening had felt more like a fever dream than a job. It was supposed to be nothing, a transaction, a favor disguised as theater. But when Mara had returned to her small apartment with the remnants of lipstick still clinging to her mouth and the scent of Isolde's perfume haunting her skin, she realized she'd crossed some invisible line, and she had no idea how to go back. The next day, everything was quiet. No message. No follow-up, no payment, not even a glance when Mara resumed her shift and passed Isolde's door. For a woman who ran an empire, she was skilled in disappearing. Mara told herself it was fine, good, even. The silence meant it was over. The game had ended. But the next night, when the office emptied and the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, Isolde's door was unlocked. Her silhouette stood by the window again, backlit by the city. Mara had intended to walk right past, but something in her gut stopped her. She stepped inside slowly. "You forgot to lock up," she said, voice neutral. "I didn't forget," Isolde replied without turning. Mara waited. Silence again. That unbearable tension stretched between them like elastic, waiting to snap. "About last night," Mara began. "It won't happen again," Isolde interrupted. Her tone was flat. Controlled. Too controlled. Mara clenched her jaw. "Didn't think it would." "Good," Isolde said at last, turning fully toward her. "We both got what we needed, right?" Mara muttered. "I got humiliated in front of rich strangers, and you got to pretend you're emotionally functional." A flicker hairline crack in Isolde's composure. "You weren't humiliated." "No?" Mara stepped in. "Then what was that look? Performance art? A symbol? Or just a charity stunt to needle your ex?" "You were necessary," Isolde said, and it sounded like the nearest thing to an apology she could manage. Mara studied her. The high collar, the iron control, the fatigue etched around her eyes. "You looked at me like you wanted more," she whispered. Isolde didn't answer. She didn't need to. The tension tightened, live under the skin, stealing breath. "You should go," Isolde said, but she didn't move. "Say it again," Mara murmured, closing the gap. "Say what?" "That it didn't mean anything." Isolde's mouth parted. Nothing came. Mara's fingers grazed her wrist just as in the car. Isolde didn't flinch. She only watched, as if caught between desire and self-preservation. "You think money makes you untouchable," Mara breathed. "But last night you looked terrified, like someone who forgot how to feel. And you think you know me?" Isolde shot back, voice breaking. "No," Mara said softly. "I think you don't even know yourself." Something gave way, then not loud, but final. Like a long cracked pain settling, Isolde stepped back. eyes never leaving Mara's. I didn't plan any of this, she said. I don't do mess. I don't do feelings. Too late, Mara replied. She left before she could say more, before she did something reckless, like kiss her again. The next few nights were strange and cold. Neither woman spoke, but the quiet was no longer empty. It pulsed, watched, waited. On Thursday, Mara found a folded note taped inside the supply closet. No signature, but the handwriting was unmistakable. Dinner. Friday, 9 p.m. my place. She should have ignored it, burned it, reported it. Instead, at 8:59 she stood outside the luxury penthouse, heart pounding like prey. Isolde opened the door, barefoot jeans, linen shirt, sleeves rolled, and for the first time Mara saw her unarmored. Real? Human? Breakable? You came, Isolde said. Mara lifted a shoulder. Curiosity, not compliance. The apartment was stunning, modern, brutalist, saturated with curated shadows. No trace of the woman who owned a skyline, only a meticulous solitude. Isolde gestured to the balcony. I didn't cook. I didn't expect you to. They ate sushi in silence, the night pressing close. Finally, Mara asked, why did you invite me? Because I haven't stopped thinking about you. The confession hit like thunder. Mara tried to stay still to keep her breathing even, but her pulse betrayed her. You're not built for this, she said. You don't know how to let people close. I know, Isolde said, but I want to try. Mara stared at her. You don't get to want unless you're willing to give. Then tell me what to give. The truth, Mara said. Start there. Isolde closed her eyes. My ex left me because I stopped loving her. Or maybe because I never did. I kept her like I keep everything else, pristine, polished, distant. But she saw right through it. Said I was hollow. Said no one would ever love me if I didn't learn how to bleed. Did you? No, Isolde whispered. Until you. The world tilted. Mara reached across the table, took her hand. You don't know what this is, she said. But you feel it too, don't you? Isolde nodded once. Yes, and it terrifies me. Mara leaned in slowly, letting the silence fill the space between them like static. Good, she whispered. Then maybe we're starting to feel the same thing. Isolde's lips parted, but the kiss didn't come. Not yet. Instead, the moment held, fragile, electric, like the breath before lightning. They weren't lovers. Not yet. But the pull was undeniable now. Something had started, something that couldn't be undone. The first time Mara kissed Isolde, it wasn't planned. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't anything like the stories. It happened in a hallway on a Tuesday under flickering office lights. That made everything look more desperate than beautiful. And maybe that was the point. Isolde had called her in late again. No pretext this time. No gala. No agenda, just a vague request for help with the document, which Mara knew was the second she entered the room. The door had barely clicked shut behind her when Isolde looked up from her desk, with that familiar tension in her jaw, the one that always appeared when she was pretending she wasn't feeling something. Mara had leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, refusing to step closer. If you want to see me, she said, you don't need to invent excuses. Isolde's gaze didn't waver. You came anyway. Mara hated how easily Isolde disarmed her. With 2 words, she could unravel all of Mara's careful walls. But tonight, something was different. Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. The air between them felt charged, as if the weeks of silence and slow-burn stares had reached a boiling point. Neither of them could deny. Mara stepped forward. One step, then another. Are you going to keep calling me here after hours? She asked, her voice low. Or are you finally going to admit you don't want me to leave? Isolde stood slowly like a lion unfolding from stillness. I don't know what I want, she said, but her voice trembled. Mara was inches away now. That's not true. You make it hard to breathe, Isolde whispered. Good, Mara replied. Then maybe you're finally alive. And just like that, she kissed her. It wasn't soft. It wasn't tentative. It was heat and confusion, and months of tension poured into one impossible second. Isolde melted into her with a hunger Mara didn't expect. Her hands found Mara's waist, her back, her hair, like she'd been waiting to be touched for years and had finally been given permission. They broke apart only when breath failed them. Isolde looked dazed. Mara pressed her forehead to hers. Now what? She asked. Isolde's silence was deafening. Her fingers trembled against Mara's shirt. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. Then let me teach you, Mara said. But you have to let me in. The next few weeks became a secret rhythm, a new language. Late nights in locked offices, brushed fingers and elevators. A glance held too long during staff meetings. Isolde never called it what it was. She didn't use words like relationship or us, but she showed up again and again, always with that same quiet hunger in her eyes. Like Mara was the only thing grounding her in a world that expected her to be still. Mara didn't push. She didn't ask for more than what Isolde could give. But the nights grew longer, the silences heavier. And one evening, in a small break room 2 floors below Isolde's office, the balance shifted. Mara had gone there for coffee. She hadn't expected Isolde to follow. But suddenly there she was, jeans, a trench draped over her shoulders, hair loose around her face, eyes darker than usual. I needed to see you, Isolde said. Mara let out a breath. You see me every night. Not like this. Isolde crossed the room into strides and pressed Mara back against the counter, her breath unsteady. I don't want to hide anymore. Then stop, Mara said. Stop calling it a phase. Stop looking at me like you're terrified of what caring might cost. I am afraid. So am I. Mara whispered. But I'm still here. Isolde kissed her again, this time threaded with something new. Desperation softened by care, like she was trying to memorize Mara's mouth, her breath, her taste. When they broke apart, Isolde didn't retreat. Come home with me, she said. Tonight. Mara hesitated. Is this about control, or about wanting me? Isolde met her eyes. I don't know how to separate the two. Mara's mouth tilted. Then let me help with that. 2. The night that followed was nothing like the first. No pretending, no performance, just 2 women learning the shape of each other's quiet. Few words, skin and breath, and the slow unnodding of years of loneliness. After, Mara lay in Isolde's bed while city light poured striped shadows across her bare shoulder. Isolde sat beside her, knees up, silent. Say something, Mara murmured. I don't want this to end, Isolde said. Then don't let it. It's not that simple. It is, Mara countered. You just won't admit happiness might actually be an option. Isolde traced a line down Mara's arm. I've never done this before. Been with a woman? No, she said. Let myself fall. Mara turned to face her. You're not falling alone. She left before sunrise, no goodbye needed. But as the door closed, she knew something had shifted. This wasn't a game, not just a night. It hadn't been for a while. Still, uncertainty lingered. The fear, the walls Isolde's lifetime fortifications wouldn't collapse in a week. Mara was patient, not invincible. She needed more than darkroom kisses. She needed daylight to count, too. So when the next day brought no text, no call, and a blank stare in the hallway, it stung. She kept her head high and kept moving. But the ache held. She considered walking, erasing everything before it broke worse. Then, Friday night, a single message. If I tell you I miss you, will you hate me or come over? Mara stared for a long beat, then typed, say it to my face. Isolde didn't say it. She didn't open the door with softness or open arms. She opened it like someone already regretting send. Mara stepped past her without a word. No demand, No plea, just moving through a space that felt familiar in ways that scared her. Isolde shut the door and leaned on it like she needed the wood to hold her up. You came. You asked me to. I thought you'd ignore it. I almost did. Isolde's mouth twisted into a bitter ghost of a smile. Then why are you here? Mara turned slowly. Because I'm not ready to give up on this, but I won't chase someone who disappears. Every time it gets hard. Isolde's eyes closed for a breath. It's not about you. It always is, Mara snapped. When you shut down, when you act like nothing happened, when you kiss me like oxygen and then treat me like I'm invisible, don't call that processing. That's pushing me away because you're scared of what? A beat. Of meeting you, she finished. Quiet and raw. Silence stretched, thick as storm air. Mara crossed the room, unhurried. I already know you do. Isolde didn't pull back when Mara's fingers slid up her arm, gentle, grounding. Then stop punishing yourself for it, Mara whispered. I don't want perfect. I want real. They stood like that, breathing the same small space, letting the weather between them settle. Isolde moved first, stepping into Mara's arms like she'd been waiting for permission. They didn't kiss. Not this time. It wasn't hunger. It was anchor, presence, choosing. Mara stayed again. But this time they didn't rush. They talked, mostly Mara asking and Isolde offering pieces, hesitant, careful. A childhood full of pressure. Perfection hammered so deep it became armor she couldn't shed even when it cut. Mara didn't fix. She listened. By morning, something had shifted, fragile, delicate, but real. A beginning. A possibility. That afternoon, Mara slipped back into routine. 2 days passed without a word, but it didn't feel like absence. It felt like space, air, growth. Until Wednesday, when she stepped into the break room for her phone and saw her Celine. No introduction needed. She just knew. Blonde hair, polished heels, posture honed to own rooms like this. Money, confidence, bitterness in a single glance. She sipped coffee as if it were wine, and she turned to Mara with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You must be Mara, she said. Mara didn't blink. And you're the ex-Celine, right? You left her, didn't you? She let me go. Same difference. Celine took a step closer. You're not what I expected. Good. You're not her type. No one is. That's the problem. Celine laughed, sharp and humorless. She never really lets anyone in, you know. Not completely. Not even me. That why you ran? That, and because I was tired of being alone while in a relationship. Mara folded her arms. So now what? You came to warn me. I came to see if she'd change, and Celine's smile faded. She looked at me like she wanted to, but she didn't. Celine didn't respond. And Mara knew Isolde hadn't taken the bait, hadn't tried to undo what they were building. But the jealousy still sat in her throat like poison. When Celine finally walked out, Mara didn't move for a long time. Later that night, she went to Isolde's office. She didn't knock, just walked in. Isolde looked up, surprised, then tense. You saw her, she said. Mara nodded. Did you invite her? No. She showed up unannounced. Did you want her to? No. Mara watched her closely. But part of you still needs her to see you. Isolde hesitated. Yes. I wanted her to see that I'm not broken anymore. And using me for that again doesn't scare you? That's not what I'm doing. Then tell me why I feel like I'm still second. Isolde stood up, walked around the desk. You're not second. You're first. You're the only one who ever made me feel like I could breathe. Mara's throat tightened. She hated how much she wanted to believe it. Then prove it. How? Stop hiding me. Stop running. Be with me when it's not convenient. Be with me when it's terrifying. I'm trying. Try harder. Isolde reached out, touched Mara's hand. Don't leave. Then don't give me reasons to. Mara didn't stay that night. She needed air. She needed space to think. But as she walked out of the building, her heart was pounding. Not with fear, but with something far more dangerous. hope. And hope she knew could destroy her faster than desire ever could. Mara didn't answer as Isolde's text the next day, not because she was punishing her, but because she didn't know what she'd say that wouldn't bleed. She needed time to think, to breathe without tasting the echo of Celine's words. Words that lodged themselves like splinters, sharp and quiet. You're not her type. She never really lets anyone in. She looked at me like she wanted to. Mara hated how much they echoed inside her, even when she knew better. Knew what Isolde had said, what she'd done, but feelings weren't logical, and wounds didn't care about good intentions. She stayed away for tonight's. Didn't go near the top floor, kept her head down. She didn't think Isolde would come looking for her because Isolde wasn't built to chase. But on the third night, Mara returned from the janitor's closet to find Isolde sitting on the floor by the emergency stairs. Hair down, no makeup, knees pulled to her chest like a child. She looked up when Mara froze. You said I needed to try harder, Isolde said. So here I am. Mara stared in a stairwell. It's the only place you don't run from me. Mara approached slowly. She sat 2 steps above her, arms on her knees. I'm not running. I'm thinking. You've been quiet for 3 days, and you've been silent for years. That landed harder than she meant it to. But Isolde didn't flinch. I don't want to be anymore. Mara let the words settle. Then Celine knew exactly what to say to break me. She knows how I used to be, Isolde said. Not who I am with you. Then show me who that is. Not just in private, not just at night. I'm trying, Isolde repeated. But it's hard. I built my whole world on control. I can't just let that fall overnight. Mara turned to her. You don't have to fall. You just have to let me stand beside you. Something in Isolde's throat moved. She looked up, eyes glassy but unbroken. Then stand with me tomorrow night. We're at my apartment dinner. No secrets, no walls. Mara hesitated. If this is another reset, it's not. Then I'll be there. Isolde didn't smile, but her hand reached up, slid over Mara's knee, and held. And it meant more than any apology. The next night, Mara arrived in worn jeans and a sweater that smelled like laundry detergent. She didn't dress up. She didn't pretend. She wanted to be herself or not come at all. Isolde opened the door barefoot again, but this time she looked nervous. Real? She had cooked. Or at least tried. The pasta was slightly overdone, the sauce too thick. Mara didn't care. They ate at the kitchen counter, knees brushing. Isolde poured wine. Mara poured truth. Why did you choose me that night? She asked finally. Why not someone easier? Because you looked at me like I was human, Isolde said. Everyone else looks at me like I'm a product or a paycheck. But you looked like you wanted to fight me and kiss me in the same breath. And I needed that. I needed to feel real. Mara swallowed. You are real. That's the problem. Why? Because real people can hurt you. Isolde's eyes darkened. Have I? Not intentionally, but yes. Then let me fix it. Start by choosing me out loud. Isolde stood, crossed the space between them. Stay tonight. Staying doesn't fix things. No. But maybe waking up beside each other does. Mara nodded quietly, then followed her to the bedroom. It was slower this time. Not new, not casual. Intimate, familiar. Isolde's body curved into hers like it had been waiting. Mara kissed her like she meant it, because she did. And afterward, when they lay tangled in silence, Isolde whispered, I used to think control made me strong. But now I think letting go might be stronger. You don't have to let go of everything. Mara murmured, just of who you were before me. Isolde turned her face into Mara's neck. Stay until morning. I'll stay until you stop pretending I'm temporary. Then don't ever leave. It should have been enough. That moment, that promise. But real life doesn't freeze for happiness. The next week brought reality back in waves. Isolde's meetings. Mara's double shifts. The apartment remained their refuge, but work stayed their battlefield. No one knew, No one could. And maybe that secrecy started to wear them down more than they admitted. On Thursday, it happened. Mara was cleaning the third floor when she overheard to managers by the vending machines low voices. Quick laughs. Heard Valera's seeing someone. Doubt it. That woman has ice in her veins. Still, she's been different. Almost human. You think it's true? Who knows? Probably a rebound. She's not the type to fall for anyone who can't match her. The words landed like a slap. She didn't cry, but her stomach knotted. She moved off before they noticed her. That night, when Isolde opened the door, Mara didn't smile. We need to talk. Isolde stepped aside. Come in. No, Mara said. Here. In the hallway where anyone can see us? Mara, are you ashamed of me? What? No. Never. Then why does it feel like I'm only yours behind closed doors? Isolde hesitated. Because I don't know how to be soft when the world is watching. But you know how to be silent, invisible, distant. That's not what I want. So stop acting like you're doing me a favor by loving me in the dark. Isolde reached for her hand. Come inside. Mara stepped back. Not until you decide if this is real to you, if I'm someone you're willing to be seen with. In the light. For the first time, Isolde had no answer. She didn't sleep. She sat in the dark, fully dressed, wine untouched. Mara's words rolling like thunder. Not until you decide if I'm someone you're willing to be seen with in the light. She hadn't answered because she didn't know how. She'd built a life on silence, control, calculation, and Mara refused to fit that world. Mara was everything no one expected Isolde to want. Loud, proud, rooted in things money couldn't buy, stubborn, brilliant, slowly, dangerously essential. And Isolde was going to lose her. The thought hit not as a threat but as certainty. You can't keep a woman like Mara in the shadows. Not for long. Morning came. Isolde watched the building's cameras. Mara arrived head high, eyes forward, face unreadable. She didn't glance at the elevator lens. She didn't pause on Isolde's floor the way she sometimes did. She was gone in seconds. It felt final. Isolde killed the feed and pressed her hands to her face. She picked up her phone, set it down, picked it up again, typed a message, deleted it. Again and again. That night the apartment stayed empty. Mara didn't come. Isolde waited until 3 a.m. No knock. No text. Just the ache of being truly alone for the first time since the night in the car. Elsewhere, Mara sat in her small room, legs tucked under her, hair tied up, the ceiling fan ticking. Her phone lay face down, on silent. She couldn't look at the unread messages because she knew what they held: apologies. That fixed nothing. Promises with conditions. Words Isolde hoped would suffice. They didn't. Not anymore. Mara had spent a lifetime fighting to be seen, clawing through shame, poverty, and expectations built to crush women like her. She had survived without a hand to hold. She wasn't about to accept half-love from someone too afraid to claim her in daylight. The weekend passed in silence. Monday arrived with rain sheeting over the city like something biblical. Working the late shift, Mara mopped empty corridors. Near midnight, she found the envelope. No name, just her initials on the front in Isolde's sharp hand. Inside, a single card, one line. Tuesday, 7 p.m., wear something that makes you feel powerful. Don't ask, just come. Mara stared, folded it, slid it into her pocket and did not decide. Not yet. Tuesday arrived like a dare. The whole day, Mara fought the urge to say no. But when 6:40 struck, she was already dressed. Black slacks, fitted blouse, gold earrings, hair down. Not for Isolde, for herself. At 7:02, she knocked. The door opened, but it wasn't the apartment. It was Isolde's office. Darkened, empty, except for the two of them. Candles lit the corners. Music, soft jazz, played from a speaker. And in the middle of the room, a table set for two. Mara stood in the doorway, frozen. What is this? She asked. You said you wanted to be seen, Isolde replied from across the room. She stepped forward slowly. So, I brought you to the only place that's ever defined me. The place I built with everything I had. And I'm telling you here with no one else watching. This is real. You, me, whatever this is. It's not temporary, not casual. I'm not hiding anymore. Mara's voice caught in her throat. You're doing this in your office. It's the most sacred thing I have. Not your home. You're already in my home. But now I'm letting you in my world. Isolde reached for her hand. Mara let her sit with me. Mara did slowly, carefully. Isolde poured wine. Not fancy. Simple. Red. Mara sipped. Did you cook? God, no. Mara laughed just once. Softly. The tension broke just a little. So why now? She asked. What changed? Isolde looked down at the table. I realized I'm not scared of being seen. I'm scared of being seen and not being enough. Mara stared at her. You're enough. You say that now, and I'll keep saying it until you believe it. Even if I fall short, especially then. The silence between them thickened, but not with avoidance. With gravity. Isolde stood, moved around the table, sat beside her instead of across. I need you to know something, she said. When Celine showed up, a part of me felt relief. Not because I wanted her, but because I saw the difference. I saw what it felt like to be in love with the idea of someone and what it feels like to want someone real. Mara's throat tightened. And who am I to you? You're not the idea. You're the person. You terrify me because you're real. You don't need me. You choose me. And that's scarier than anything. So stop being afraid. I'm trying. Mara leaned in. Try harder. With me. Isolde kissed her. Not with hunger. With reverence. Like she was learning a new language with her mouth. Like she was terrified of saying the wrong thing, but needed to speak anyway. They didn't make it home. The floor became a bed. The candles stayed lit. And when Isolde whispered, "Stay this time," she meant in more ways than one. In the morning, the office was quiet. Mara dressed slowly, still barefooted, hair tangled. She looked around the room. Her mop still leaned against the far wall. Her badge still hung from her belt loop. She hadn't stopped being who she was. But maybe, just maybe, she'd stopped feeling like she didn't belong. Isolde stood beside her, silent. Mara turned to her. "You're not going to lose me because of who you are," she said. "But you might if you keep pretending I'm not already here. Then I won't pretend anymore. Not even when it's uncomfortable. Not even when it burns." Mara reached for her hand, then let it burn. And maybe that's how something finally begins. When you stop putting out every fire and start letting the right ones grow. The shift was subtle at first. They no longer waited until the building was empty to be alone together. Isolde didn't flinch when Mara showed up on her floor early. She didn't hide when the cleaning crew passed by and saw Mara curled on the office couch, book in hand, coffee steaming beside her. But still, there were limits. Invisible ones. Isolde wasn't holding her hand in hallways. She wasn't calling her during the day. There were no good morning texts, no casual invitations. Everything between them lived in the silence between schedules. Mara tried not to notice, tried to focus on what was growing instead of what was still missing. But it was hard, especially when the rest of the world kept reminding her she didn't belong. Like when she walked into the company's private gym to drop off a maintenance request and heard two assistants whispering near the water cooler. "Is that the janitor? I thought she was just a temp. She's been hanging around the top floor lately. Must be sleeping with someone." Mara didn't react, just dropped off the form and walked out. But later when she stood in Isolde's kitchen, she was quieter than usual. Isolde noticed. "You're tense." "I'm fine." "You're not." "It doesn't matter." "If it's about me, it does." Mara turned to her. "I'm used to people looking at me like I don't belong, but I didn't think I'd feel that way around you." Isolde flinched. "You don't think you belong with me?" I think you don't know how to let me belong. Silence. Then I'm trying. You keep saying that because it's true. Then prove it. How? Introduce me to someone. Who? Anyone? Let someone in your life see us together. Isolde looked away. I'm not ready. Then maybe you're not ready for me. Mara walked out before she could change her mind. That night, Isolde didn't sleep. She sat at her desk staring at the glowing skyline, wondering how someone could feel so in love and so completely inadequate at the same time. The next morning, she messaged her sister. Lunch today, your place. It had been months since they'd spoken. Their relationship had always been strained, one rooted in obligation and rivalry. But now, Isolde needed a mirror, a challenge, someone who wouldn't let her hide. That afternoon, over salad and silent tension, Isolde dropped the sentence like a bomb. I'm seeing someone. Her sister raised an eyebrow. Does he have a name? She does. That silenced the room. Then, are you serious? Completely. You've never introduced anyone before. I know. So why now? Isolde hesitated. Because I'm terrified I'll lose her. Her sisters studied her. Then don't. The next evening, Mara arrived at Isolde's apartment expecting a quiet night. Instead, she found a plate set, wine open, a jacket slung over a third chair. You invited someone? Mara asked carefully. Yes. Who? My sister. Mara blinked. You have a sister. I don't talk about her, Isolde said. But I want you to meet her. Why? Because I need you to know I'm done hiding. The doorbell rang before Mara could answer. The woman who stepped in shared little with Isolde, but the eyes softer, louder, looser everywhere else. So you're the mysterious Mara, she said, shaking her hand. Finally, I was starting to think she made you up. Mara laughed, a little awkward. I'm very real. Good? She needs real. Dinner turned out strange and tense and funny and honest. The sister asked too many questions. Isolde answered to few. But by the end, something had eased. Under the table, Mara caught Isolde's hand, and this time, Isolde didn't let go. When the door closed and they were alone, Isolde tipped her forehead to Mara's shoulder. Was that terrible? No, Mara whispered. It was exactly what I needed. I still have a long way to go. I know. But you're walking it. That's all I ask. Isolde cupped her face. What do you need from me next? Mara hesitated. Time but not distance. Keep choosing me even when it's messy. Always. And for the first time, Mara believed her. The days that followed felt different, quieter, but full of intention. Isolde started texting in daylight. Short things. You'd hate this meeting. Thinking about last night. Coffee later. I'll bring it. Mara answered, sometimes with a joke, sometimes soft, sometimes a rooftop sunset photo. She still cleaned every Friday. Then one evening, Isolde appeared in Mara's space, not the office or the penthouse, but the maintenance floor with its metal lockers and flickering lights. Luxury nowhere in sight. What are you doing here? Mara asked, startled. You said you were tired of always stepping into my world, Isolde said. So I came to yours. She sat beside Mara on the worn bench, letting the hum and grit hold them, letting herself be a guest instead of a host. This place is ugly, Isolde said after a while. It's real, Mara said. And sometimes that's better. Show me, Isolde said. What? Your world. All of it. So Mara did. The staff kitchen where she ate between shifts. The stairwell where she'd cried once after a landlord's call. The roof where, at 3 a.m, she sometimes stood just to feel the sky belong to her. Isolde didn't flinch or judge. She listened. She learned. And when they sat together on that roof, wind riffling their hair and a soft silence holding them, Mara whispered, "Thank you." For what? For coming down from the tower. Isolde smiled. I never wanted to stay up there alone. I just didn't know how to climb down. Then don't go back up without me. I won't. They kissed under the stars, not hidden. not afraid, but at the meeting point of both their worlds, where something like love could finally root. It started small, how it always starts. A misstep, a look, a phrase. Mara dropped by the office late again, a habit that had become almost routine. They didn't schedule it anymore. They drifted toward each other like gravity. Isolde was finishing something on her laptop, eyes flicking over numbers, lips pressed in that way Mara secretly adored. Mara leaned on the doorframe, watching. You know you frown when you're focused, right? Isolde didn't look up. It's the only time I have an excuse not to smile. Charming. Necessary. Mara stepped closer. You ever think about taking a break? This is my break. No, Mara said, gentle, firm. I mean a real one. Disappear for a weekend. Disconnect. Breathe. Isolde blinked, then slowly looked up. You want to go away with me? Mara shrugged. Why not? You hate the way I live. I don't hate it. I just want you to remember there's more. More than this. Isolde gestured at her empire. The walls, the numbers, the power. Yeah, Mara said, more than spreadsheets and silence. Where would we even go? Anywhere. A beach, a shack, a cabin with bad Wi-Fi, and a gas stove. I don't do gas stoves. Mara laughed. You'd survive. Would I? The teasing faded. There was something fragile in Isolde's tone, like she didn't know who she was without all of this. Like Mara had asked her to abandon the skin she'd lived in for years. Forget it, Mara said too quickly. It was just a thought. You didn't mean that. Maybe I did. Then say it like you meant it. Mara's jaw tightened. Fine. I want you to come with me just once. I want to see you somewhere you're not in control. I want to know who you are without the boardroom or the heels or the pressure. I want to wake up next to you and see your hair messy and your voice groggy, and not hear the sound of a phone ringing within 10 minutes. Isolde stood slowly. And if I can't give you that, then maybe I'm asking for someone you're not ready to be. The air changed. Thicker, colder. You knew who I was when this started, Isolde said. And I thought I could live with it, Mara replied. But now that I've seen what it feels like to be chosen by you, I want more. More is dangerous. No, Mara said. More is real. You think I don't want to escape sometimes? Isolde's voice cracked. Something wild under the surface. You think I don't dream about disappearing, about sleeping in, about breathing without checking my schedule first? Then why don't you? Because I built this life to protect myself, to stay safe, to stay untouchable. But you're not untouchable anymore. The silence after that was brutal. Isolde's breathing had changed. She looked like a woman pulled too far in too many directions. You're asking me to leave behind the only version of myself that ever kept me alive. No, Mara whispered. I'm asking you to build a new one with me. That broke something. Isolde turned away. I can't. Mara stepped back like she'd been slapped. Then what are we doing? Trying, Isolde said. But maybe that's not enough for you. Mara laughed bitterly. Trying is a word people use when they don't want to say no. I haven't said no, but you haven't said yes either. Isolde turned to face her. Don't make me choose between you and my life. I'm not, Mara said, but I'm choosing right now for me. What does that mean? Mara's voice was quiet, steady. It means I'm going where does it matter? It matters to me. Then stopped me. Isolde didn't move, and that more than anything told Mara what she needed to know. She walked out. The elevator ride down felt endless. Cold. She didn't cry. Not yet. Not until she was in her building, in her room, in the shower with the water scalding, and her knees on the tile. That was where it broke. That was where she let herself fall. Because for a second, just one, she had believed in forever. And now forever had been postponed by fear. Isolde didn't call. Not that night. Not the next. Mara expected it now. The retreat. The silence. The safety net of control snapping back into place. But on the third day, something changed. Mara opened her locker at work to find a small notebook inside, the one she had once mentioned keeping when she was younger, full of poems and secrets and things she never showed anyone. She hadn't seen it in years, had thought it lost. But here it was somehow inside. One of the pages had been marked, a sticky note in Isolde's handwriting. You once told me you stopped writing because no one ever read what mattered. I'm reading now. I see you. I don't know how to stop being afraid, but I want to learn. I want to try with you. Not someday. Now. If you'll still have me. Mara's heart stopped, then pounded, then HAD. She closed the notebook, sat down hard on the bench, eyes glassy. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't fireworks, but it was real. It was effort. And for the first time in days, she let herself believe again. Not because Isolde had said everything right, but because she was finally starting to show up wrong and still try. The next time Mara saw Isolde, it was raining. Not a soft drizzle, but one of those torrential downpours that made the whole city blur. Like the world itself had forgotten how to stay sharp. She hadn't answered the note, hadn't sent a message. She didn't trust words yet. Not after everything they'd left unsaid for too long. But when she stepped outside the service entrance to take a break, soaked to the bone in seconds, Isolde was already there, standing with no umbrella, her coat drenched, hair sticking to her face like silk threads. You're going to catch something? Mara muttered. I don't care. What are you doing here? Waiting for you. Mara crossed her arms. You could have called. You could have answered. Silence. Then you read it. Isolde asked. Yeah, and you're late. Isolde nodded. I know, but I'm here now. Showing up wet and dramatic doesn't erase what happened. I'm not trying to erase anything, Isolde said. I'm trying to start where we left off. Only this time, I'm not bringing the walls with me. Mara studied her. Isolde looked ruined by the rain, by guilt, by hope she didn't know how to carry. It made something in Mara ache. So what now? Mara asked. I don't want grand gestures. I want something that lives outside the storm. Then come with me, Isolde said. Right now to where? I don't know. Somewhere dry. Somewhere honest. Mara hesitated, then sighed. Give me 15 minutes to change. If you're still here when I come back, I'll go. She turned and walked away, heart pounding. She half expected Isolde to be gone when she returned. But she wasn't. She was still there, shivering, soaked through, eyes wide and waiting. Mara stepped forward, dry hoodie pulled over her head, bag slung across her chest. Let's go, she said. They took Isolde's car, windows fogged with silence. For a while, neither of them spoke. The hum of the engine, the sound of water against glass, the tension of too many emotions trying to coexist. Finally, Mara broke the quiet. You don't get to fix this in one night. I know you don't get to be different for a day, and then disappear again. I'm not leaving. You've said that before. Then let me show you. You're not good at showing things, Isolde. I'm learning. You're late to the lesson, but I'm still trying. Mara looked at her, eyes tired. Why me? She asked. Of all the people you could have let in, why the janitor? Isolde's hands tightened on the wheel. Because you didn't flinch when you saw the worst in me. And because you never wanted my world. You just wanted me. And now I want yours, too. They drove until the city faded, replaced by trees and gravel roads and the scent of wet earth. Isolde pulled into the driveway of a small wooden cabin tucked into the edge of a quiet forest. I thought you didn't do gas stoves, Mara said softly. I don't, Isolde replied. But I'm trying. Mara followed her inside. It was small but warm. The kind of place with uneven floors and mismatched mugs and windows. That opened to nothing but green. Isolde had packed food, clothes, and the books Mara had mentioned months ago in passing. It wasn't some glossy getaway. It was messy, real, human, and Mara hadn't felt this scene in a long time. That night, they didn't rush. They brewed tea, curled under an old blanket on the worn couch, listened to the storm pound the roof, and let a gentle silence hold them. You were right, Isolde said finally. About what? I was afraid to be loved in daylight. Because then it isn't just desire, it's being enough when everything's visible. And I didn't know if I was. Mara turned to her. You are. You just didn't know how to allow it. Isolde's voice thinned. And now you keep showing up through the rain. They kissed slowly, deeply, like breathing each other in. Later, in bed sheets scented with cedar and something faintly sweet, Isolde whispered, I don't know how to do this perfectly. I don't need perfect, Mara said. I need present. Then I'm yours. You were always mine, Mara answered. You just didn't believe you deserved it. I still don't, Isolde admitted. But I want to. Then stay here in this. In us. Morning arrived with soft light and easy laughter. They cooked, burned the eggs, spilled the coffee, kissed with flour on their faces. Isolde wore socks with holes. Mara wore her hoodie like armor. Everything felt beautifully, achingly real. They didn't fix everything. The future was still foggy, but the fear had shifted. The love had roots now, and maybe, just maybe, they were done pretending it was temporary. Back in the city, they returned hand in hand. No hiding, no separate elevators, no waiting until the hallways were empty. When Isolde laced fingers with Mara in the lobby for the first time, in plain sight, neither looked away. It didn't collapse in a single blow. It frayed quietly, almost invisibly, like a seam loosening until the tear was impossible to ignore. At first, everything between them felt like learning a new language. Shared coffee in the mornings. Mara's boots by Isolde's door. The way Isolde stopped flinching when Mara reached for her hand even in public. They were finding a rhythm, messy, imperfect, lovely. But routine, however gentle, has a way of exposing the cracks they'd hoped love would hide. The first argument wasn't even about them. Groceries. Mara had picked up favorites from a local market, things she loved, things she thought Isolde might. She unpacked into the spotless, hyper-organized kitchen, and Isolde's expression shifted. You didn't ask me first, she said. Mara blinked. Ask you before buying food? I have dietary things. Stuff I avoid. It's fruit, Isolde. Some bread. Coffee. It's unfamiliar. It's food. The spark of tension was brief, but it caught. I just wish you'd told me, Isolde said. I was trying to do something kind. I know. It just surprised me. It's not about the groceries, Mara snapped. It never is. Isolde turned away without arguing. And the first fracture held. The second came a few days later. Mara stopped by during a meeting and waited outside half an hour. When the door opened, Isolde stepped out, eyes cool. You can't interrupt like that, she said quietly. I didn't interrupt. I was standing where you could see me. It's not the image I'm trying to maintain. Something cracked in Mara's chest. Ashamed of me again? That's not fair. Is it true? No, Isolde said, but to practiced. Mara nodded once. Got it. She didn't go home with her that night. That became the pattern for a while. One step forward, half a step back. Isolde cared deeply and clearly, but kept folding Mara into the margins of her life. Instead of putting her near the center, Mara wasn't asking to be worshipped. She wanted priority, not to be slotted between meetings or after midnight emails. Not only kissed with the door shut. One night they lay back to back, the silence heavier than anything they'd said. Are we okay? Isolde asked at last. Mara didn't answer at first. Then I don't want to lose you. You won't. I already feel like I am. Isolde turned toward her. I don't know how to do this right. Then stop trying to do it right. Just do it real. I don't know what that means. It means let me in when it's hard, not just when it's beautiful. The next day, Mara didn't text, didn't show up at the office. Isolde panicked. She called once, twice, nothing. It wasn't until late that night that she found Mara on the rooftop of her building. sitting against the wall, hoodie pulled over her head, staring out at the city like she was somewhere else entirely. You disappeared, Isolde said softly. You've been disappearing slowly for weeks, Mara replied. I needed a day to remember who I was without you. And did you? Yes, and it scared me how easy it was. Isolde sat beside her. Are you leaving? I don't want to, but I also don't want to shrink every time you forget I exist outside your bubble. I don't forget. You avoid because I'm scared. So am I, then let's be scared together. We are scared together. The problem is we're not brave at the same time. The silence that followed wasn't comfortable, but it was honest, raw, needed. I love you, Isolde said suddenly. It was the first time she'd said it out loud. No soft metaphors, no hints, just the words. 3 of them, unapologetic whole. Mara's breath caught. Don't say that just because you think it'll fix this. I'm saying it because it's been true for a long time. I just didn't know how to survive saying it out loud. Mara turned toward her. Then say it again. I love you one more time. I love you. Mara closed her eyes, then opened them. Then fight for me. Not with flowers or dinners or sex. Fight for me with consistency, with presence, with showing up even when it's inconvenient. I will. If you break this again, I don't know if I'll come back. I won't. You might. Then I'll find you in the rain, in the dark, in every place you run to when I mess up. I'll keep showing up until I get it right. You're not there yet, but I'm closer. Mara leaned her head on Isolde's shoulder. Don't let me carry this alone. I won't. They stayed there a long time. No kissing, no touching, just breathing. And maybe that was the bravest thing either of them had done. It was supposed to be a good day. Nothing extravagant, just quiet. A small corner cafe Mara had mentioned weeks ago. A table by the window. 2 hours carved out between meetings and reports. It wasn't grand, but it was real. It was theirs. Isolde arrived early, nervous. Hair down for once. No heels. Just jeans and a white shirt tucked in loosely like she was trying to be soft without saying the word. She looked out of place and yet more herself than ever. Mara arrived 10 minutes late, breathless and beautiful in a way that didn't ask for attention. She sat across from Isolde, eyes searching. You're here, she said. You're surprised a little. I said I'd try harder. And I'm trying to believe you. The coffee came. Conversations stumbled, not because they didn't have things to say, but because the things that mattered were heavy, still waiting beneath the surface. Mara stirred her drink absently. You know, this doesn't fix everything. I know. And saying I love you doesn't undo the times you made me feel invisible. I don't expect it to. Good. Isolde looked at her. Really looked. But I'm not going to pretend I didn't say it. Mara's hand stilled. Say it now then. I love you. Then act like it when it's inconvenient. I'm here. And what happens when the next meeting comes? When someone raises an eyebrow? When your world demands that I shrink again to fit into it? I'll choose you. You've said that before, and this time I'll prove it. How? By asking you to move in with me. Mara blinked slowly. What? I'm serious. Isolde, I'm not saying now or tomorrow. I'm saying I want a future with you and I want to build it starting now. That's a big step. So is love. And what happens when your life swallows you again? You won't let it. That's not my job. I know. Then why now? Because I've already imagined waking up without you. And it felt like forgetting how to breathe. Mara was quiet. The cafe buzzed softly round them. But their table felt frozen in something heavier. Let me think about it, she said. Take all the time you need. But Mara didn't answer her texts for the next 2 days. Not because she was angry, but because she was afraid. Not of loving Isolde, but of what that love required. Of how much of herself she'd already given and how close she was to giving the rest. On the 3rd day, Isolde found her outside the same supply closet where all of this began. Mara was sitting on the floor, back against the wall, arms around her knees. You remember the night you asked me to pretend to be your girlfriend? She asked without looking up. Of course. I said yes because I thought it would mean nothing. I didn't know it would ruin me. Isolde sat beside her. I didn't know it would save me. Mara looked at her then. You don't need saving. Neither do you. But I need space to breathe. Then breathe with me, not around me. You say beautiful things, Isolde, but you don't always know what they mean. Then teach me. That's the thing. I don't want to teach. I want to build together or not at all. Then let's build it slowly. Slow is fine. Honestly, always and without making me a part of your image. Isolde reached for her hand. You're not part of my image. You're part of me. Mara's voice broke. That's the scariest thing anyone's ever said to me. It's the truest thing I've ever said to anyone. They didn't kiss, not at first. They simply laced fingers, foreheads pressed together, breathing the same air like shared promises. That night, Mara didn't go home. She didn't move in either, but she stayed. They botched dinner. They bickered over towel folding technique. They stole kisses against the kitchen counter, laughing between bites of charred toast. Later, in bed, Isolde whispered, I know I'm not easy. You don't have to be, Mara answered. You just have to be here with me. And for the first time, it felt possible. Earned. Morning found Isolde waking to Mara already dressed at the window. Hey, she said, voice still drowsy. Hey, everything okay? Yeah, Mara said. I was thinking about saying yes to moving in. To all of it. Isolde sat up. Are you sure? No, but I'm willing to try if you are. I am? Then let's try. One drawer at a time. One key at a time. One moment at a time. Isolde stood, crossed to her, and took her hands. I've never done this before. You're doing it now. Will you stay? Only if we both do. For once, Isolde didn't hesitate. I'm staying. Maybe it wasn't a finish line, just another fragile, beautiful beginning. But since that first night, just for tonight no longer sufficed. Now they were learning to build a forever. Moving in didn't start with a truck. It began with a toothbrush, then a hoodie, then a drawer, then Mara's favorite mug beside Isolde's sleek espresso machine, as if it had always belonged. No declarations, no circled dates, just the steady accumulation of presents. Quiet, subtle, sure. And it was good. Most mornings settled into shared rituals. Mara hated the news, so Isolde stopped streaming it. Isolde disliked clutter, so Mara learned to clean as she went. They didn't try to change each other. They adjusted, adapted. Still, even love rooted in truth can bow under strain, and one night, it did. Isolde had a brutal day, the kind that tightens around your throat. Back-to-back meetings. A miscalculation that stung. A board member questioning her vision in front of the team. She came home jaw clenched, chest heavy. Mara was barefoot in the kitchen, dancing to music that didn't fit the mood. Smiling as Isolde stepped in, arms still swaying, unaware. You're home early. Yeah, Isolde said, setting down her bag. That's rare. I know. Mara nudged the volume lower. Just a notch. Everything okay? It's fine. You don't look fine. I said it's fine. Mara paused. Okay. Just don't do that thing. What thing? The fixing thing. Mara blinked. I wasn't fixing. You always are with your jokes. You're light. Like you're trying to chase away the dark before I've had time to sit with it. Mara stepped back quietly. Sorry. I didn't mean no. I get it. Mara said, voice low. You're overwhelmed. I'll give you space. She left the room without another word, and something about the way she walked away felt different. Heavier. Final. Isolde didn't follow. Not right away. She sat on the couch, head in her hands, heart pounding with regret. She couldn't yet speak. It took an hour, but eventually she knocked on the door to their bedroom. Mara was sitting on the edge of the bed, hoodie half sipped, eyes tired. Hey, Isolde said, Hey, I was awful. You were hurting. That doesn't excuse it. No, Mara agreed. But it explains it. Isolde walked in slow, uncertain. You shouldn't have to dim your light for me. I wasn't trying to be light. I was just trying to share the space to soften it for you. And I made you feel like you didn't belong in it. Mara didn't respond. Isolde knelt in front of her. I've spent so much of my life controlling every variable, every environment, and now I have you. And I don't want to control you. But sometimes I don't know how not to. You don't have to be perfect around me, Mara said. But I won't stay in a place where I have to shrink just to avoid setting you off. Then I'll do better. No, Mara whispered. Don't say that unless you mean it. I mean it. It's not about the coffee, or the mess, or the dancing. It's about knowing that when you're low, I can still be here. Not as your fixer, not as your escape, but as your partner. Isolde reached for her hand. You are my partner. Then treat me like one, especially when you're unraveling. I'm scared of what you'll see. You think I haven't already seen the cracks? I don't want to be a burden. You're not, Mara said, but love that only works when you're strong isn't love. It's performance. Isolde rested her head in Mara's lap. I don't want to perform anymore. Then stop. They stayed like that for a long time, breathing, reconnecting, relearning. And the next morning, Isolde didn't just apologize. She showed up. She took Mara's hand at breakfast, asked about her day before checking her phone, texted during lunch, not with updates, but with care. Did you eat? Did you sleep? Can I bring you anything? She was still herself, sharp, intense, driven. But now there was space, a softness she was no longer ashamed of. One night, Mara sat on the couch reading legs across Isolde's lap. Do you ever think about how we started? She asked. Every day. I almost said no. You know that night in your office? Why didn't you? Because I saw something under the surface. Something messy, hungry, lonely, and I wanted to know if it could ever be gentle. And it's learning. So do you still want forever? Only if it's with you, Mara smiled. Then let's keep building it. One drawer at a time. One morning, one fight, one forgiveness, one kiss. And when they kissed, it wasn't desperate or apologetic. It was calm, certain home. Later that night, as they fell asleep, curled into each other, Isolde whispered, I'm proud of us. Mara smiled into her collarbone. Me, too, even when it's hard. Especially then, because what they had now wasn't about pretending anymore. It was about showing up every day, even when it was ugly, even when it was hard, even when it hurt. And that finally was what made it love. Some things don't break loudly. They bend, they stretch, they strain under the weight of silence until one day they snap quietly mid-conversation, mid-laughter, mid-moment when no one is looking for damage. It had been 3 weeks since Mara unofficially moved in. The rhythm of cohabitation had settled in like a second skin. Grocery lists with both their handwriting, towels left unfolded, little arguments over nothing that ended with kisses against the fridge. But there were things they still didn't say, things they tiptoed around. And sometimes it only took one sentence to pull it all back to the surface. It happened on a Wednesday. Isolde had invited Mara to a dinner with 2 of her oldest friends, former university classmates. Sharp, successful, fluent in boardroom politics and curated lives. It was supposed to be casual, just wine and conversation. Mara wore her best dress shirt, the one Isolde had once said made her look dangerous in the best way. She even tied her hair back, something she rarely did. Isolde looked at her with pride and something like fear. You look incredible, she whispered. Don't look so surprised, Mara teased. I've been incredible this whole time. The dinner started fine, a little stiff. A little too many inside jokes from the past. Mara smiled, played along, let them talk. But halfway through, one of the friends turned to her and said with a laugh too loud to be polite, So Mara, How does it feel to be plucked out of nowhere and dropped into all this? Silence. Isolde's smile faltered. Mara set down her fork. All what? This world. You know. Power, strategy, corporate chaos must be quite the change. From what? Well, you're not exactly one of us, are you? Isolde opened her mouth, then closed it. Mara felt something tighten in her chest. No, she said. I guess I'm not. The rest of the meal moved forward, but something in her head shifted. The laugh she forced, the wine she didn't finish, the way she pulled her hand away when Isolde tried to touch her under the table. They walked home in silence. Isolde tried twice to speak. Mara didn't let her. When they got inside, Mara went straight to the balcony, leaving the lights off. Isolde followed. I should have said something, she whispered. You didn't. I froze. I didn't know how to handle it. You've been handling people like them your whole life. Don't lie to me. I wasn't lying. You were protecting yourself. I was trying not to escalate. No, Isolde. You were trying not to make it messy. Isolde stepped closer. I didn't want to embarrass you. You think I'm embarrassed by who I am? No. Then why did you let them treat me like I didn't belong at your table? Isolde didn't answer. That silence was worse than shouting. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Mara said that loving me would only work in private. That the minute someone from your world made you choose between comfort and me, you'd pick silence. I didn't choose them. You didn't choose me either. That's not fair. It's true. Isolde's voice cracked. I was scared. You don't get to be scared. Every time it matters. I'm trying. Trying doesn't mean anything if you still leave me alone in rooms full of people who think I'm less. You are not less. Then act like it. I'm learning. Then learn faster. Isolde stepped forward again. I love you. Loving me isn't the problem. Respecting me out loud is. I respect you. Then defend me. Next time I will. There shouldn't have been a next time. Isolde's hands shook. I didn't realize how much it mattered to you. Then you haven't been paying attention. Mara brushed past her, heart slamming, into the kitchen. Don't walk away from me, Isolde said, following. Don't give me reasons to. I'm not perfect. I never asked you to be. I asked you to see me publicly, privately, in every room you bring me into. I watched you all night, Isolde murmured. I just didn't know how to protect you. I don't need protection. I need partnership. Give me another chance. Why should I? Because I'll never forgive myself if you walk out now. Then don't give me a reason to. They stood there, unmoving, until Isolde spoke, slower, gentler. I kept quiet because I've spent a lifetime surviving rooms like that. I didn't realize until tonight what survival has cost me and us. She swallowed. I don't want to survive anymore. I want to live with you. Then say that when it counts, not just when we're alone. I will. It will happen again, Mara warned. People will say things, look at me like I'm not enough. Let them look, Isolde said. They'll see me holding your hand. Mara's breath left her in a shaky exhale. You're lucky I love you. I know. Don't make me regret it. Never. That night, they slept apart for the first time in weeks, not in anger, but because some cracks need air before they're sealed. In the morning, Mara found Isolde in the kitchen, hands unsteady over the coffee. A small envelope lay on the counter. Inside, a note. No more hiding from anyone. If I flinch again, remind me who I'm fighting for. Yours always. Mara looked up. Isolde stood there terrified, present, real. She opened her arms without a word, and Mara stepped into them, not because everything was fixed, but because this was worth fixing. Together. There was no grand reconciliation, no flowers, speeches, or rain-soaked kiss. It began with Mara passing Isolde a cup of coffee. Hot, quiet, heavy with all they hadn't said. Isolde took it in both hands, sipped, watched Mara move around the kitchen in the borrowed hoodie. Hair damp from the shower, eyes cautious but not cold. You slept, Isolde said softly. A little. Without me. It wasn't punishment. It felt like absence. It was space. Isolde set the mug down. Can I say something without ruining it? Try. I know I hurt you. And I hate that it took a public moment to show me how private my silence still is. Mara leaned on the counter. You didn't defend me because you were afraid of them. What hurt more was realizing you were still afraid of us. I'm not anymore. You were. Yes. So now what? Mara asked. Now we build something that one room of arrogant people can't shake. You think it was just them? No, it was me. My fear. My hesitation. But I'm done hiding from them and from myself. Mara crossed the room, slower this time. We keep saying we're trying. But trying doesn't keep the lights on. Trying doesn't hold your hand at midnight. Trying isn't enough. Then let's stop trying, Isolde said. Let's start choosing every day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. They stood like that for a long time, close, breathing the same air, but not quite touching. And then Mara said, let's make it official. What? Living together fully. No more my place and your place. Just ours. Isolde's breath caught. Are you sure? I want to wake up beside you and not wonder where I belong. Then let's do it. You're not just saying that because you feel guilty. No. I'm saying it because I want a life with you. One that doesn't disappear when the door closes. Mara gave a slow, shaky smile. It's going to be messy. Good. I'm done with perfect. Over the next few weeks, everything shifted. Not with fanfare, but with drawers being emptied and shelves being rearranged with Mara's books. Mixing with Isolde with a second toothbrush. A sock that went missing and was found under the couch. Dinners burned and remade. Laughter between arguments. Kisses between laundry. They fought once about a stupid lamp. Mara said it looked like something out of a dentist's office. Isolde said it was Scandinavian minimalism. Mara threatened to throw it off the balcony. They ended up buying fairy lights instead. It was the most peace either of them had ever known. Not because it was flawless, but because now when they broke, they bent toward each other. One night, Mara sat on the floor surrounded by old photo albums Isolde had kept hidden in a box under the bed. Childhood college. A blurry photo of her and Celine back when everything was still tight smiles and stiff shoulders. Isolde walked and froze. You weren't supposed to see those. Why not? Because I hate remembering who I used to pretend to be. Mara looked up at her. You don't have to hate her. She kept you alive long enough to become this version. She was cold. She was surviving. Isolde sat beside her. I used to think no one would ever want to stay once they saw all the broken pieces. Then you never met someone like me. No, Isolde said, kissing her temple. I didn't. Another night, Mara woke up gasping from a dream she couldn't remember. Isolde pulled her in, held her tight, whispered, "You're safe now." And somehow she believed it. A week later, they stood in front of a small dresser, empty, waiting. "This one's yours," Isolde said. "I know you hate sharing space. I do. But you don't hate sharing with me." "No." Isolde smiled. "With you, it feels like expansion, not invasion. Then this one's ours." And just like that, everything that had once felt impossible was now standing still, real breathing, alive. On the last night of that month, Mara sat on the windowsill, legs pulled to her chest, looking out at the city below. "You remember the first thing you ever said to me?" she asked. "Yes, say it just for tonight. Be my girlfriend." Mara turned to her. "And you remember what I didn't expect?" Isolde smiled to fall for me. And yet, would you still ask me?" Isolde stepped closer, touched her face. "No, why not?" "Because I'm not asking you to pretend anymore. I'm asking you to stay for real. For good." Mara leaned in. "Ask me again anyway. Be mine." Isolde whispered. "Not for tonight. For everything." "I already am," Mara whispered back. "But it's good to hear you say it. They kissed. No urgency, just truth, just yes, just home. There was no ceremony, no official announcement, no rings, no labels, no audience. But somewhere between the quiet mornings and the late-night arguments, between the burnt dinners and whispered apologies, Mara and Isolde built a life. Not the kind you write about in perfect words, but the kind that makes silence feel like safety. Mara kept her job, not because she had to, but because she wanted to, because it kept her grounded, because she liked the rhythm of her world outside Isolde's. And Isolde, for once, didn't try to change that, and she started coming home earlier. Not always, not every day, but more often than before. She left her phone in another room during dinner. She took weekends off. She asked questions. She listened. They weren't perfect. Some mornings they barely spoke. Some nights one of them would sleep on the couch. But they always came back. Always chose again. The love wasn't loud, but it was constant. The kind that folded laundry and remembered how you take your coffee. The kind that didn't flinch when it saw your worst. One Thursday, Isolde came home behind her back. Mara raised an eyebrow from the kitchen. If it's another plant, I swear it's not a plant. Good, because the last one's already dying, and I'm not ready to be a stepmother. It's a key, Isolde said. Another one. To the office. Mara blinked. You want me back there? Not as the janitor. What then? As my partner, literally a seat, a voice equal. You're serious? I'm in love with you, Isolde said. I want you next to me everywhere. You trust me with that. I trust you with everything, even your precious spreadsheets. Especially those. Mara laughed, then paused. I don't know if I'm ready for that. You don't have to be. Just think about it. Okay. That night, Mara sat on the balcony, watching the lights of the city blur into a quiet hum. Isolde joined her, blanket around her shoulders, wine in hand. Do you remember how scared we used to be? Mara asked. Of course. Sometimes I still am. Me, too. But it's different now because now we're scared together, and we stay anyway. Always. Mara looked at her. Really looked. Do you still have the dress from that gala? Isolde raised an eyebrow. The one you wore when you told me to pretend to be your girlfriend. Yes. Probably buried somewhere in the back of the closet. Good. Why? Because I want you to wear it now. No. For our anniversary. We have an anniversary. We do now. That night. Yes. You want to celebrate the day I bribed you into playing pretend? I want to celebrate the night we accidentally became real. Isolde smiled. You're unbelievable. You're lucky. I know. A year passed. Quietly, fiercely. Mara took the office key slowly on her terms. She didn't sit at the head of the table. She sat beside Isolde as an equal. And when people looked at her like she didn't belong, Isolde didn't stay silent. She spoke firmly, proudly. Mara's background didn't disappear. It was honored. Her voice didn't bend to fit a room, it reshaped the room around it. And whenever Isolde reached for her hand in a tense meeting, Mara smiled like the woman who once stood with a mop and told a CEO that fairy tales weren't made for women like her. Maybe she'd been wrong. Maybe some stories aren't fairy tales at all. Maybe they're rough and honest, and born under fluorescent lights and in rain-slicked parking lots. Maybe love isn't about being saved, but about being fully seen. No armor, no apology. One evening, after the office had emptied and the sun bled gold across the glass, Mara slipped into Isolde's space, perched on the edge of the desk, and said, You know the difference between then and now? Tell me. Back then I was pretending to be yours. Now I am, and you're mine. I've always been. No, you used to belong to fear, to image, to silence. Now you're mine. Isolde stood. Cross the distance, then come home. We are home. Then come to bed. Only if you kiss me first. Isolde did, slow, deep, familiar. And when they left the office hand in hand, Mara flicked off the lights without looking back. because they didn't need just for tonight anymore. They had forever, and they chose it again and again and again. If you enjoyed this and want to support the channel in a special way, tap the thanks button, the heart with the $sign. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution that helps me keep creating videos for you.